everybody. It's really nice to see people joining us. Okay, so first news. I said last week that immigration court in New York is going to reopen in July, so this is great. Everybody's excited about that. Big news last Saturday, the Biden administration has opened an extended redesignation for TPS for nationals of Haiti. That's loaded. I'm going to break it down for you. What is TPS? TPS is temporary protective status. It is a decision of each administrative, And for example, if there's a country in which there is a war, conflict, or a country that has been particularly hard hit by a hurricane or other natural disaster, the president can designate that country and allow the people who are citizens and nationals of that country who meet certain requirements and are in United States, allow them to apply for this temporary protective status. It is not a green card. It is not permanent. It does not allow a path to green card. But what it does is it allows the person who meets the designated requirements to have a work authorization. With the work authorization, you'll get a social security, and depending what administration is in charge at the moment, to potentially have a travel document, right? In the past, we have designations. Let's say there were designations for El Salvador, for other countries all over the world. And usually, which is the same thing the Biden administration did, they opened the registration period for 18 months. So all citizens and nationals of Haiti who are here in the United States and meet certain criteria and who have no other status, or, and this is very, very important, even people who have a deportation order, who have an active deportation order, can still apply for TPS. So this is very, very good news for nationals of Haiti. If you guys know anybody, or if yourself think you qualify, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Phone, email, Facebook, Twitter, our website, all of the following. So that is very, very excited. We already have a few people who are interested that we're working on. That's going to be happening for the next 18 months. And of course, you get to extend it if you already have TPS and you're a national citizen of Haiti. So that's the major news from last week. Now, what did I want to talk to you about today? I know we have been focusing on things that have to do with family-based immigration, waivers and stuff like that. I want to shift a focus today a little bit and talk about investment. We do both business and family-based immigration. There are obviously a variety of different things out there, but what I want to talk to you today is something that has been very, very, very popular, and we get a lot of these cases. It's called an E2 visa. E2. It is a great visa. Why is it a great visa? There is a number of countries all over the world that have entered into a treaty, into an agreement with the United States. Usually, it's like friendship and commerce agreement that allows certain benefits for each country. But for our purposes, let's just take, for example, Israel, because Israel was designated as an E2 country in the summer of 2019. What is an E2 visa? If you are a citizen or a national of a country with which United States has a treaty, for example, Israel, just because we're getting a lot of inquiries and it was, the latest country to be designated. And you want to invest into an enterprise, into a business in United States, and you want to invest your own personal traceable finances, and you're going to be directing or running the business, and you're going to own at least 50% of that business, you can apply for an E2 visa. That visa is a non-immigrant visa, meaning you do not get a green card with it. But on the other hand, it doesn't have any time limitations. You can keep extending it and keep flying and living and working and doing business as long as the business itself is working, making money, growing, not growing, doesn't matter, but is an actual legitimate profitable business. E2 visa is a great tool because if you open up a business, you invest your own personal finances. That is a very important part, that you have to put your own finances at risk. And you invest and you get the visa. You can then bring employees under that visa from, the country. You can later on, for example, acquire a position and the company can sponsor you potentially for a green card. Those transitions have been done in the past. The great news about E2 visa is that it is a visa of dual intent. What does that mean? There are certain visas for which when you get it, for example, a B2 visa, you are telling the US government that when the visa is over, you intend to go back to your home country. You cannot be entering with that visa and intending to stay, right? If you're intending to stay, you're in violation of that visa. On an E2, you can be coming here and intending to stay for a little bit, or you could be coming here intending to at some point immigrate legally here through a process, or even if you get married to somebody, it does not put you into violation of your visa. So it's a really, 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 really great visa. Now the processing happens at a consulate. Another great thing about E2 is that you can choose the consulate where you want to be processed. For example, just because you're a citizen of Israel, you don't have to do it at a US embassy in Israel. You could do it in Canada, you can do it in Australia, you could do it, in the EU, you could do it, anywhere where E2 visas are processed. That's in terms of eligibility. In terms of actual financial requirements, of course, and I'm going to repeat it again, you have to be a citizen of the country with which the US has the treaty that allows for E2 visa. Even if you have two citizenships, you hold two passports, one of them has to be from the treaty country, and that is the passport that has to be used. That's the passport you're going to be entering with into the United States. In terms of financial requirements, and that's a very interesting question because a lot of people come to me and they say, oh, I read it has to be $100,000 or more. That is actually not true. There is no specific monetary definition in the law. There's nowhere that it says that it has to be this amount or above. It is based on the type of needs, the type of business that you have, the type of requirements. Somebody opening up a textile factory is going to have a lot more investment than somebody who's opening up a little tech company that requires, two computers and a small little office. So we have done a lot of different E2 visas for a lot of different people, and we have done investments under 100,000 for sure that still allow the person to come here and open up their business and start working. There is no $100,000 requirement. That's a myth. Next one, spouses, children under 21 of people who have the E2 visa can come here and have a valid status here. The great news is that the spouse of an E2 visa holder can get a work permit and can work for any employer in the United States. It is not a benefit that is given to a lot of other visas. There are H-1B. If you're a spouse of an H-1B, you're not going to be able to work in the United States. E-2 allows for a spouse to obtain their own work authorization, and go work. And the kids, of course, can also have a social security number and stuff like that. The mechanism for that would be to either go directly from the Social Security office, or you can even get a work authorization for the minor child. Obviously, the minor child is not going to be going to work, but that would allow also for the creation of the Social Security number. That's a very, very good tool. Like I said, there's no time limitation. Usually the first C2 visa is given for 2 years, sometimes a year, but usually 2 years, and then you can just keep extending it. When I say keep extending it, it's not so simple as just like, oh, I want to extend it. Of course, you're going to have to show investment, that the business, is working, it is a legitimate business, not a doormat, it's not just on paper, but there are actual business activities that are taking place, right? So that is also a requirement for the initial issuance of the E2 visa. You have to, in most cases, even if you can work from your home or hotel room, you should have space, you need bank accounts. And yes, and this is the question that comes up very, very often. Yes, you do have to actually have the money in the US bank account and actually be in a process of investing it or having had already invested it. You can't just bring it over to the US, hold it for a month, and send it back to wherever the money came from. It has to be money that you're putting at risk, right? Money that you're putting in a working mode, right? That are being investment, and hopefully the investment is going to pay off. But there should be a possibility that it may not pay off in terms of it's a business, it's a valid business. It is not just on paper. Another thing a lot of people ask is that whether I can take the money from a business I owe overseas and transfer it here. No, it has to be your own personal finances. They have to be traceable. They will ask the US government will want to know the origin of where the money came from. You can show that you sold property. You can show that you got gifts from people. You can show that you've earned the money over a period of time. You can show that you got the money from investments. You can even show income from, let's say, rental properties. We've had cases where people owe real estate in another country, and their source of income is the real estate. That's how they get the money. You can get a gift that is not precluded. You can get a gift from a spouse, from a parent, towards the investment, but it has to be your own personal finances. One of the biggest things about E2 visa is a business plan, meaning you can't just say, oh, hey, I like that spot, I'll open up a hot dog stand over there. There has to be a rhyme and reason to it, meaning you need to have a business plan. There's no other way around it, meaning you have to have done the market research. You should have the plan for expansion, how you're going to get a share of the market, what you're going to be with your resources, what the projection of the revenue is. And, we do work with the companies that help people put together business plans. I know it can be intimidating, especially for someone who's like in an industry that doesn't have a lot of crossing with accounting and business planning and stuff. There are very, very different tools out there. Another thing is there's no requirement that if you have a bachelor's in architect, your business necessarily has to do with that. That is different from other visas that I will discuss in the future. There, you can be an architect and want to open up a restaurant. You can be you can be an accountant who wants to import wine into United States. There is a plethora of possibilities, but I feel like E2 visa is definitely being underused right now. There is a lot of great possibilities. There's a lot of creative things that can be done, and it is a great, great tool, especially if you just, thinking of expanding into the United States, or you think that there are great opportunities here in the United States that are not available back home, and you have the financial resources, the know-how, the ideas, to come forward and create some jobs, create some revenue, create some great business in the United States. That is what the E2 visa is meant for. It is definitely a great tool, and there are a lot of different benefits for it. Again, it doesn't in and of itself lead to a green card, but there are ways to come from an E2 visa to a green card in the future. Okay, the latest country to get this was Israel in the summer of 2019, and there was a really, really high demand. There was a there were treaties that were in place between United States and Israel before that allowed for like E1, which is for people who are traders between the two countries who are bringing services, technology, goods and stuff like that back and forth. That's another visa, E1, that we can discuss later. But E2 Israel was only designated for an E2 in the summer of 2019, and from there it really took off because, of course, there's a lot of connection between the two countries. There's a lot of intersection that happens between the two countries. So that was a very, very good development. I think for both countries, for people who don't necessarily want to fully immigrate to the United States, but want to have the ability to come here and contribute both to their own financial growth and to the growth of the country. So that's our little spiel on E2. If you have any questions, as always, please definitely send us your requests. We will be putting out, we have some E2 information on our website, and we are in a process of putting together a more detailed information on the E2. But of course, as I say with everything in immigration, every single case is very individual and very detail specific. So don't try to do this at home. It is a tricky trick. But we definitely enjoy doing E2 visas. It is fun, it is creative, and it is great. The last thing that I'm going to say about an E2 visa, that the person has two options. One is, and this is the one that we of course prefer because it allows the person an ability to travel in and out of the United States. That's the process of consular processing, where when the package is put together and created, there's an appointment that is set up at an embassy of a choice. The person goes to the embassy, brings all of the documents, goes through the interview, gets a visa in their passport, and they can travel in and out, right? That is one case scenario. Another case scenario, which we prefer much less just because of the nature of the visa, and that most visa holders in E2 category like to travel in and out for business, or need to travel in and out for business. But the second option is, if you're here in the United States, you can certainly change your status from another visa to an E2 visa. Well, actually to an E2 category, to E2 visa category designation in the US. But if you were to change it in the US, you get a green piece of paper that says your status has been changed to such a category. But if you leave the US, that piece of paper in and of itself is not going to allow you to come back. If you leave the US while in that category, you're going to have to, again, go to the embassy, go through the interview in order to get the visa stamp in your passport. So you might as well do it, to begin with, because I have yet to meet an E2 visa holder who doesn't need or want to travel in and out of the United States. Most people end up needing the visa and a passport at some point. So lots of interesting information. We will be, of course, as always, reposting this everywhere. And if you have any questions, you know where to contact us. We are available. We're everywhere. And soon we're going to be coming up with some great news for you. Some interesting things that we are doing. Send us your comments. I'm glad to see everybody. I hope everybody enjoys their Memorial Day weekend. Yay, unofficial start of the summer. I hope you have a great barbecues and see your friends and spend the time outdoors in the sunshine and great weather. And I will see you all next Thursday if everything goes well, which I'm sure it will. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you watching me and sending me your comments and text messages. If you have anything specific you want me to talk about, you know where to find me. Bye.